You believe we're live? Hello. I know we're late. We're a couple minutes late. We had to talk about a couple things before we started the stream. Adult conversation. But welcome, guys, to Real American. It's me, John Rose, hosting again with guests Yay and MAGA Mao, Luke, everyone else. Even always. Rap's calling me out for being late. Rap's calling me late, man. It's over. It's over, man. But yeah, no, we have a lot to talk about. I want to start with the Comey stuff because I think some of you guys don't fully understand the stuff that Comey's daughter was affiliated with, and Comey and her dad, obviously James Comey. You guys know a little bit more about him. I want to talk about the Comey family. I wanted to talk about tariffs. I wanted to talk about a few other things. I have like a whole like bargain bag of things we could talk about. So we're going to have a conversation. Keep in tune with me and we'll talk about whatever. But if you like the stream, if you enjoy the guests, give it a like, give it a share, show your friends. And remember, if you want your question answered by our panel of experts, political experts, send in a super chat. We already got one.
I'm a resident intellectual now of MAGA Maoism. I just got my PhD.
What is a tariff?
What's a tariff? Gustavo G for 5 got my Cat 5 call out from Barris. Surprised Mark Mitchell was pulled in. This shit is driving everyone crazy. Total influencer discrediting, or TID for short. Yeah, Gus, I didn't want to talk about it, but we absolutely can. I can shut down a couple of arguments about this if we need to.
Did I just say one thing on it real quick? I'm just getting my 2 cents in.
Go for it, Luke.
We're getting so much positive news out of the economy, showing that the tariffs are actually helping the economy in many ways. All of this huge good economic news releases. We get all this stuff. Economy's doing great. Now it looks like China and Trump are going to get to an agreement where China is going to start giving the death penalty to fentanyl distributors. We're getting all this good news. So what happens right after all this good news starts coming out? Where's the list? Where's the list? The media brings it up. Where's the list? We need the list. You campaigned on the list. Where's the list? Isn't that quite interesting? That's all I'm saying. And all I'm saying is a lot of people in the conservative movement are falling for it.
There is a lot of very interesting things. And I want to point out to you guys, while you're like zoning talking about this, Gavin Newsom has come out on your side. Kevin Spacey has come out on your side. Zoran Mamdani is now using this issue as a cudgel against Trump. So regardless of what you think about it,
Cheryl in New Jersey is running a single issue campaign now on the files. So
as terrible as it's been handled, everything else, remember what your enemies are using and what they want to do to you, and use what they're using this as an excuse to do horrible things to you. Just remember that. But right, PPI report was a W. I have that in the notes, Alan. We'll definitely be talking about that. But real quick, I'm just going to get this out of the way. This is my spiel at the start. Pam Bondi has fired Maureen Comey, daughter of James Comey, from her job as a prosecutor in the Manhattan U.S. Attorney Office per Politico. She worked on the prosecutions of Maxwell, Epstein, and Diddy. She got Diddy off, guys. And then she got Maxwell a plea deal. By the way, she's supposed to be the prosecutor in these situations. She's supposed to be bringing justice, handing down justice. But mysteriously, every single time someone that is very obviously implicated in abuse, whether of adults or children, or whether, no matter what, they get off. Diddy gets off. Epstein gets, well, not gets off, but Maxwell doesn't have to open her yapper for a single person. Very suspicious. So I wanted to bring that up. And then I wanted to bring up how it's just like it runs in the family. So you guys may not remember everything about James Comey, mostly Trump's affiliations, but I wanted to bring up that Comey has been going at this since the 90s. The Whitewater investigation of the Bill Clinton administration was essentially James Comey getting Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton out of a pot of hot water, dealing with improper financial dealings with real estate involving the two of them. He protected the president and his wife from a very bad real estate scam, essentially. And then there was more and more of this as it goes on. If you go through, there's rich people like Mark Rich that are getting off by Comey being involved. You see this over and over and over again throughout his time. He's basically there in the federal government to get people off that are not supposed to be given any sort of relief. These are the people corrupting our government. These are the people in the deep state. And so I just wanted to highlight that James Comey's daughter, who was going to continue his work for another generation, purged from the DOJ. And I think that's a wonderful thing we should be celebrating. American Nerd for Two, imagine if she was on the Jack Smith BS case. Absolutely. Yeah. No, but anyways, just wanted to bring that up. That was the thumbnail. We don't have to keep talking about it. But I wanted you guys to remember we are draining the swamp in many ways. We are getting rid of these horrible people. She should have been fired on day one, but hey, you have to make up a bunch of stuff, reasonable cause, blah, blah, blah. It's really weird firing government employees. You have to do it a specific way or else you just get sued. But anyways, going forward, we have a few things that we can talk about. I know someone wanted to bring up the Trump medical issue in chat. So let's really quickly talk about that. White House has released a letter saying Trump had swelling in his lower legs, evaluated as a, quote, benign condition, and that bruises on Trump's hands are due to frequent handshaking and use of aspirin. This was brought up by at the press briefing. This was brought up. Caroline Leavitt let us all know about this. You know, Trump's had some shaking hands. He's had some swelling feet. And someone was asking, Chad, are we screwed? Chad, are we screwed about this? No, we're not screwed, guys. But we needed to have clarification. You needed to see that he's actually okay. Trump's just having normal reactions to using aspirin. When you use aspirin regularly, you're screwing up your body. But he doesn't have like a DVT like I have. He doesn't have a bunch of other stuff. He's fine. So that was one thing. It's just a nothing burger, so we can move on from that. Gentlemen, I like I said, I have a dozen topics: tariffs, walls, Texas, amnesty. Where you guys want to crack first?
I mean, we might as well go with my favorite topic of immigration.
Oh yeah, sure. We can talk about the amnesty thing.
The woke mind virus has infiltrated the GOP and is trying to pass a woke bill. So you can talk about that.
No, that's I have tabs for that. Object class cater
I'm simplifying it for some of the boomers and the Zoomers in the audience. You know, because not everyone's very high.
We're looking down on the old and the young. I love it. I love it. Dev is going crazy with Texas and Ohio redistricting, but say nothing about what California is doing. What a joke. Why would reps co-sign the amnesty bill? L for 26. So yeah, no, we have, I'll go ahead and pull up the tabs here for you guys. Well, first, I wanted to show you the original clip from Fox News. I'm copy pasting it for the guys in chat that are with me. Governor Representative Maria Salazar went on Fox to introduce this Dignity Act, and she says, quote, "There is another mass of people, most of them Hispanics, who have been here for more than 5 years contributing to the economy, who do not have a criminal record, and those people deserve some type of dignity and deserve to stay." So basically, anybody that's been here like 5 to 60 years since Hart Keller, if you were not given amnesty in the Reagan amnesty bill, you get amnesty now. That's what the bill is. And this was, Charlie Kirk was sending off the warning signals about this. I think he did it. I said he was doing it a bit early, but whatever. We were going through here. These are the people that have signed on to the bill. Funnily enough, first person, Don Bacon, who's not running for re-election, by the way, in Nebraska. We have Don Bacon at the top, Mario Diaz-Balart in Florida, Gabe Evans, Brian Fitzpatrick. By the way, this was the guy in Pennsylvania that ran screaming out of the room so he didn't have to sign off on the big, beautiful bill. This was the guy that was so terrified of Mike Johnson, he ran and barricaded himself inside of his freaking office. Yeah, that guy. Mike Kelly, Young Kim, Mike Lawler, Dan Newhouse, Marlon Stutzman, David Valadao. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 representatives here listed. Name and shame. If this is one of these guys, your rep, you know what to do. Get on the phone, start screaming. But yeah, no, we have a name and shame list now of all these amnesty things. But my take's pretty straightforward on this. But yeah, what are you thinking as you learn more about this? I know you said that you hadn't been caught up, but and now that we've kind of elucidated it, what are your thoughts on the Dignity Act?
It is interesting. I do have to ask: Is this amnesty in the sense of citizenship, or is this amnesty in the sense of like protection from deportation? Like one is worse than the other, but they're still both bad.
I believe 100% that it is amnesty. I'll double check it for you real quick. But when I looked through this on my own, I'm pretty sure that she's talking about granting amnesty. Let me double check here for you. I could have sworn it was amnesty. Okay, so the full thing is dignity for immigrants while guarding our nation to ignite and deliver the American Dream Act. Bipartisan immigration reform.
Bipartisan immigration reform. I like how they flaunt that as if it's a good thing. Like, I don't think you don't want to work with Democrats on immigration because they're going to one amnesty like we're doing here.
Okay. So participants receive a 7-year dignity status with work and travel authorization renewable indefinitely every 7 years. But it does not. So they do not get citizenship. They don't get to vote, but they don't have to leave and they don't have to deal with the deportation laws. They just get to hang out indefinitely. And it can be renewed. That's a big thing. It's not just like, oh, you get to hang out for 7 years. They get to stay forever. They get to functionally, and this is actually in some ways a worse form of amnesty than just giving them citizenship. We have been talking on this program for a year now more about how the degradation of U.S. citizenship causes the destruction of our country. If citizenship has no meaning and people can just hang out, use welfare services, do whatever we do, and act like law-abiding citizens while not really having to obey the law or pay the same kind of taxes that we do, citizenship means nothing. In some ways, being a citizen is worse than being set up in this program, in this situation, depending on your particular circumstances. Because there's things you can avoid when you're not a citizen that a citizen can't avoid. So no, I absolutely think this is still amnesty to me, and it will lead into the second a Democrat administration got a hold of it, or a Democrat majority got a hold, or we just got the wrong Republican president into the office. The second we lose, all these people get instant amnesty. They're not going to continue the dignity program. They're going to be like, oh, in the charade, they're all citizens, shut up. And then at that point, citizenship for the United States is destroyed. That's my opinion on this. It functionally does not matter whether or not you're a citizen. American Nerd for Two. Why do we still have people like her in the GOP? It takes a long time to reform these parties. We have these people, these people that win in purple districts or win red seats in blue states that feel somehow entitled to behave like this. So people were excusing Fitzpatrick's like sheepish, childish, woman-like behavior on the House floor by saying, oh, well, you don't get it. He like lives in like a blue constituency. He outruns the president, blah, blah, blah. Like as if, every single time we have one of these seats, it's as if, well, we can't remove the moderate because they're just irreplaceable, man. And that's usually the excuse for like every single one of these. And I'm not saying that every single version of that argument's invalid, but it's just repeated over and over again for every single person in this situation. It's kind of like a blanket statement. If they're in California, if they're in New York, if they're in a blue part of Pennsylvania, if they're in Georgia, if they're in Florida, oh no, you can't complain about the moderate. I guess I'm just getting kind of tired of that. But yeah.
No, I think there is some cases like where it's valid, like Susan Collins, for example, because she still votes. The only time she doesn't vote with us is when she can afford to not.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Every time her vote is needed, she votes like in line, because like she represents a very blue state, and she needs to be able to like appear bipartisan once in a while. So, for example, on like the BBB, she voted no, but they didn't need her vote to pass. Like that's kind of what
Yeah,
happened.
she
there.
is a very good team player in a way that a lot of Republicans aren't, especially in the House. If their vote is not needed, they'll vote no, and it's okay because they're doing it to be moderate in order to win the election. But if their vote is needed, Susan Collins, she'll vote for confirmations for Republican senator or Republican justices, like she did in the first administration. Like she'll go, oh, I don't really want to vote for this person, blah 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 blah, and yet she will at the end of the day because if her vote's needed, she will fold. That doesn't really apply to people like Fitzpatrick because he'll just vote no to vote no.
No, well, right.
I still think primarying Fitzpatrick is a mess. But
the thing with Fitzpatrick
right now.
There's bigger priorities, but I will make fun of him at every opportunity possible because just like there are different ways he could have respectfully done the exact same thing he did that night, where he's just like, oh, my constituency's too sensitive, I can't vote on the bill. Like there are so many different ways he could have done that. But he acted like
I fully agree. Yeah, that was a stupid move of him. Yeah, I fully agree.
Right. And total transparency, I'm starting to kind of shift opinions on Susan Collins, and there's a few reasons for that. Mostly because I saw back in 2020 when she first did the Senate thing, everybody was saying, oh, she's going to lose, she's -10 favorability, and then she won by 8 points. And then I started looking at the numbers and stuff, and I was like, okay, there was a Green Party candidate that got like 5% at the time that really shifted the vote. And since then, I've seen some polls where her favorability has shifted beyond -10 by like 10 to 20 points further down, depending on what you're looking at. There's some more moderate polls where she's only like in the -20s, and then there's or -16, -18, and then there's some like other polls that she's like -30 something, like almost -40 in favorability.
I've seen some that show she's positive, so that's the thing. Polling in Maine
that's crazy.
Those polls that show her at like a 30% approval rating, that is just straight up just Republicans. You gotta understand, these Republicans, they will show up and they will vote for her, but they don't like her. It makes her vulnerable in a primary, but once the primary's over, they hold their nose and they vote Republican because she's better than whatever progressive that they prop up in the state.
We will see if that logic stands up. I'm starting to think the center's falling out of the country, so we'll see if people continue holding their nose. But we'll leave it at that. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the tariff stuff, though. I have a bunch of stuff to talk about on tariffs, and I'll give it to you guys. I'll feed it to you guys in general as I'm putting it up on stream. So here's the first thing from Open Source Zone. This was a really interesting RMG research poll. Those are the people that split off from Rasmussen. RMG researchers is a little bit more left-leaning than Rasmussen, but still kind of like in the middle. They had these two things together, which I thought was super interesting. Will Trump's tariff...
I'll say this too about RMG. They aren't doing the stupid thing that the guy at Rasmussen's doing now, where he's grandstanding about the Epstein stuff. They actually just give you the numbers. They don't try to like put their agenda on it, which is another good thing. So
well, yeah, I think that's been RMG. Scott Rasmussen, who owns RMG, that's been his argument. I think from the beginning is that he tries to be less partisan than Mark. But I will say right now, I'm kind of liking Scott more right now. But back during the election year, that attempt to be less partisan actually caused him to herd left away from the real results of the election. But anyways, there's good and bad qualities to all these pollsters. But RMG had this poll is super interesting, and I want to hear what you guys think. Will Trump's tariff be good or bad for the economy? 46% say good to 44% saying bad. So it's +2, it's positive. A majority of people, plurality of people, believe Trump's tariffs will be good for the economy. At the same time, the same sample of people, 1,000 voters, will tariffs cause prices to go up or down? Up 61%, down 17%. So almost 2/3 of the people taking this poll said, yeah, prices will go up. But a plurality of them say it'll still be good for the economy. And we just had Midnight join. Hello, Midnight.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, what's poppin'?
Hello. Yeah, gentlemen, we were just talking about, I started talking about tariffs. I have a couple of tariff stories, and this was an RMG poll that I just put in the general chat. The main thing that I'm gathering from here is that a thesis that I heard from Rich Barris seems to be coming true, where he says people think the voters are more stupid than they actually are. But it seems like for the years that you poll these people that recognize protecting our industries will cause prices to go up actually still think that is a good thing for the economy due to rising wages. So do you think this is just like a shot in the dark, or do you think this is actually representative of the voters? Do you think the voters understand this? Anybody?
I mean, I think they're just willing to accept it. I mean, that's just straight up my opinion. I think they're like, okay, things are going to go up for a little bit, but like it is a little different when it's like I said, it's short-term pain, long-term gain. And then people are going to say, oh, well, they didn't care about that under Biden. Well, under Biden, it was long-term pain with no gain at all. There was nothing was improving. So people are willing to accept
I think
moderate price increases for a short amount of time if at the end of the day prices do eventually go down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I would say part of the thing is like they've been seeing prices and inflation go up for the last 4 years. So I think to a lot of people it's just like, okay, so just more stuff going up. All right, I'm already used to that. But they also remember the fact that Trump was president back in 2016. He also talked about imposing tariffs on various countries and so forth. And by and large, the economy was still fine. So I imagine they're thinking about that, and kind of like we've been discussing, they're probably thinking about the long-term effects of like, oh, there's all these industries coming back here and stuff. Maybe that's happening because of the tariffs and stuff like that.
Right. And I believe
So-
that is the general idea. And it got consolidated in a little Stone Toss comic that I can actually put up on the stream and put in general. It's actually just exactly what we're saying here for you guys. Come on. There we go. How are you going to pay for groceries after deportations make them more expensive? Why would they be more expensive? Higher wages. Bingo. So this is the logic like streamed through immigration, of course. So it's slightly a different issue. It's a slightly different issue. But the main thing that this Stone Toss comic, which for some reason I'm struggling to actually put in a correct ratio on the screen, people accept that when deportations happen, their wages will go up and they will be able to afford higher prices. People accept that when strategic tariffs are implemented, prices might go up for specific goods, but their wages rise. And I think what Ye was saying, short-term pain, long-term gain, is the thesis of most voters when they go out and vote for these policies. A lot of people theorize that there will be a one-time price increase and that it won't continuously go up and up and up because obviously the tariff percentage stays the same. But yeah, wanted to pull up a couple of other things. So this was JD Vance responding to all of this. Geiger Capital posting PPI in June came in lower than all 50 forecasters in Bloomberg's survey predicted. And then JD Vance says it's almost like the economics profession as a whole doesn't fully understand tariffs. Some people have been pointing out that this is because, the United States is special. It's not like all the other countries in the world. We have a kind of a first among everyone else. We're superior to most other nations in size and in the size of our consumer economy and everything else. But really, it seems like there's been severe oversight in the economic sector on this particular issue. And it's being revealed day in and day out every day that these people are wrong. Richard Headford 2, please tell me the Dignity Act will get a vote. My general take on that is if they put it to a vote, it's possible it gets through the House because they have 10 Republicans. I feel like the whip and Mike Johnson are going to be very ugly to the people supporting this bill. But if it gets past the House, it's not going to make it past the Senate. They need 60 votes. You need 13 Republican senators to betray Thune and Trump and basically the entire establishment. I don't think it'll get through the Senate. If it somehow miraculously made it through the Senate, never being signed by the president. I promise you that. Like, I completely 100% guarantee you Trump will not sign this stupid Dignity Act. Yeah, I can't see the whole guy. I was trying to put it up. If I like drag the screen here a little bit, I think I can show you guys the whole comic. But the main thing I was trying to talk about with the PPI thing, and there you go. The main thing I was trying to talk about with PPI was that pass-through is low. We talked about this back in April when the tariff formula first came up. Pass-through is very low. Pass-through is like the amount of the tariff cost that is passed on from the producer to the consumer, you. So pass-through, if there's high pass-through, your prices go up a bunch. If there's low pass-through or no pass-through, you don't see any change in the prices of your goods. And based off of PPI and CPI data, it's going up lower than expectations predicted, which makes everybody think pass-through is pretty darn low on most of this. And what that means is that the producers are eating it. And they're eating it because these are command economies in Asia. These are command economies in Asia that can take the hit, that can actually eat pieces and parts of the tariffs. So that's the real story to me. I think that's really crazy. Another part from Spectator, before we move on. Financial Times reports America's trading partners have largely failed to retaliate against Trump's tariffs, which have allowed the U.S. administration to quote, raise nearly $50 billion in extra customs revenue at little cost. So we have this from the Spectator. We have this from the Spectator saying that we've been able to generate all this extra revenue because countries have failed. And my answer to that, do you know why they failed? Because there is no proper response. Countries like Canada and Mexico cannot properly respond to tariffs. They are screwed if they do not comply with our wishes. And similarly, there's a mutually assured destruction quality to this entire dance between countries like China and the EU and other places. They cannot ignore the US market without devastating sectors of their economies. And so they're just not going to do that. Jet politics for two. There is no dignity in rewarding dishonesty. So true, Jet. We cannot reward people who break our laws with like blanket, oh, you get to stay here for 7 years. And then once everybody stops paying attention, we give you amnesty. No, none of that bullshit. We're not doing that.
I think what upsets me the most about these carve outs to our immigration law is how fucking entitled these people are. Yeah. Like if you've seen the average detention, arrest of a DACA recipient, these people are so fucking entitled. They act like they're completely invulnerable. They act like they act like they're above you as a citizen because they have this protection from deportation. It is such an insane mindset that these people have been given.
Well, and to be fair,
to an extent, they're right. I mean,
that's basically what they had. They basically had immunity.
Yeah, they were immune. They could do whatever the hell they wanted, and nothing would happen to them. And they still have that mindset that nothing's going to happen to them, that they're invulnerable. It's fucking insane.
Well, I think it's insane. I believe it's insane. And I believe it's fostered by the elite class, by the Democrats, and by some of these Republican enablers who look at it and they go, oh, well, sweetie, you're so right. You're so correct. You've been such a good little non-citizen sitting in our country. You've contributed so many tax dollars. You've cleaned my toilet so well. You've mowed my grass so clean. Oh, I would never. Oh, precious baby, I would never put you back into your little terrible third world shithole. And you know, they're being pandered to and basically placated by these people, the filthy rich, and these politicians who believe that they can benefit from these people staying in the country one way or another, whether it's benefiting by business or benefiting by eventual voters. But it's really contemptible. And at the bottom of all of it, that everyone seems to ignore on the surface, is this underlying truth. When you let people behave like this, citizenship stops meaning anything. I know I keep banging on that, but if you think that you should have things because you pay taxes and because you were born in here and you were given by the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence something special, if you believe that that was entrusted to you by your posterity, you as the posterity of these people, if you believe you were entrusted something that you need to preserve, that's just being sold away, like at a bargain bin sale to these people for free. The opportunity to live and work and be in America. So yeah, no, they're very entitled. They're being granted entitlement through these politicians and filthy rich people. And I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of like importing in a serf caste and trying to create a neo-feudal society within America. Maybe Californians like that crap. It's not happening over here. I'm never letting it happen over here. Over my dead body.
You trust me, Californians are pissed at us too. That's why California moved like 10 points to the right from 2020 to 2024. It's going to continue moving right. Unfortunately, there's a fuck ton of illegals and unassimilated legals who can basically vote here, and also a lot of libtards. But the Californian patriots are pissed off at this. I know for the fact.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see like how the state moves going forward, because I'm not going to expect the state to ever go Republican. I don't expect it to have 10-point swings every election for the next decade. But like, I am curious to see like what it does. Like, what's happening with like how are Indians going to respond to this? How are like these large swaths of Hispanic voters and Black voters in urban areas? Like, what are they doing? Like, what are they thinking here?
It seems like one of the most
adjust accordingly.
I know horrible things happen in California and everybody just kind of accepts it and moves on. But this has been a particularly horrible year for California. The fires happened, which was entirely government caused. And now in the rebuilding process, these like home lots are being sold at the lowest possible price to the government to build housing projects for homeless, felons, insane people. If my house got burned down and my lot was sold to the government so they could make housing for some HIV positive, drug addicted felon, holy crap, I would start a revolt right then and there. It's hypothetically. Entirely hypothetically.
And like, I think what's crazy about that whole thing, people are going, oh, well, it's actually not a requirement. You don't have to sell your home off. Well, here's the thing. The same county that's being given permission to buy up your land lot for pennies on the dollar is the same county that decides whether you even have the permit to rebuild. So they're going to revoke, delay, and refuse to authorize rebuilding permits for your home until you sell it to them to give to crackheads. That is what's going to happen.
Absolutely insane. So I have the same question as Ye, which is, how the hell does this keep going on, and how do they respond to it? Because if they don't respond at all, if they don't keep moving right, in some ways, it just feels like they're cattle already. They're slaves. And I recommend you do leave California if that's the case. It's like, it's just, are you cattle? Are you a sheep? Do you want to be treated like this? Because I wouldn't put up with that. I wouldn't put up with that for half a second. So
here's what's interesting about California is this isn't a new phenomenon, by the way. California has, for the past several decades, I don't think it's ever truly been a progressive state. Referendum after referendum, it votes like a Trump state. It doesn't vote to ban involuntary servitude for prisoners. It doesn't vote for rent control. It doesn't vote for all these insane policies. California, like a lot of heavily minority blue states, it's not a liberal state. It just has this allegiance to the Democrat Party that will not be broken. We're seeing that shift over time because I think moderate and conservative Hispanics and moderate conservative Asians are kind of slowly moving away from the party apparatus. And I'm not saying this as a leave the Democrat plantation bit. I'm just saying it as these people.
True. It's happening.
these people don't vote for their self-interest, and I think that is slowly changing over time. Because you can't tell me the same state that votes against all of these policies and like it didn't even vote for gay marriage by a huge margin. There were a bunch of Biden counties that voted against gay marriage. Like it is I consider California just to be a moderate state in terms of a voting electorate. It just has a really cultish allegiance to the party.
Yeah, no, you're basically right. I am not saying that California is going to go Republican. Maybe if they ran like an independent against some really terrible Democratic candidate next year for governor, that independent would win. But that's as far as I'll go.
I mean, for
No.
fuck's sake, a Republican won Compton last year. I'm not kidding. The Republican nominee for Attorney General in 2022 became an independent and then won the LA County DA election by 20 points.
That's what the Republicans should not run like their candidates as Republicans. I've been shouting that from the fucking rooftops since 2020, at the very least.
Yep, in 2018, Republicans ran an independent for I think it was insurance commissioner, and despite Democrat margins up and down the ballot, he only lost by I think he lost by single digits.
He lost by like 5. It was Steve Posner.
It was Steve Austin. Yeah.
Well, and if I recall too, wasn't it back in? It was either 2022 or 2023, but there was some re-election for some like LA commissioner or something, and the more like tough on crime Democrat like beat the soft on crime Democrat by like a decent amount or something.
Maybe are you sure it was LA? Because you might be thinking of the Republican that I was just talking about.
I thought it was LA, but perhaps I'm mixing it up for another city.
I mean, I know San Francisco went through a huge shift in the last election. Pretty much all of the progressives lost their seats. The mayor got ousted by like 10 points.
It might have been San Francisco, but I would need to check that again.
San Francisco had a huge revolt against the progressives in 2024 and also moved right significantly, which, like I said, I think we're going to see. I think 2020, 2016 was the peak for California Democrats, and it's just going to keep getting worse over time.
Right. I've been loving this conversation. I'm just going to interject a couple things. Somebody in chat sent a super chat. Cameron for 2. Prediction of how the Epstein saga will end. Check tomorrow. I think we're going to get news tomorrow, and you just check for. I don't expect the week to end without us getting another piece of meat for that. And someone else was talking about California, worrying about gerrymandering in California. I was going to tell you from the reliable sources that I've been talking to, all of the stuff Gavin's saying is bloat. He can't do any of the things he's talking about right now.
I mean,
nothing's happening.
Isn't California an independent commission anyway?
Okay, here's what would have to happen. This is I was looking into this because I was genuinely curious. Both mid-decade redistricting and partisan redistricting are banned in the California Constitution. The only way for California to redraw and gerrymander, one, it would take 2/3 of both houses, of both legislatures, of both chambers. Yes, Democrats do have that, but Democrats don't have a progressive supermajority. And I think even the progressive leader of the caucus came out against it and said, like, it's not going to work. It would be the optics of Gavin Newsom overriding the people and taking away their independent commission just to gerrymander California because of Texas. I don't think the state party would recover from that. And 2, even if they do get the votes to do this, which would, like I said, would require a supermajority in both chambers, it would then have to go to the ballot. And I'm not sure
which means it wouldn't be able to be done before the midterms anyway.
I'm not sure a referendum could be passed in time for them to gerrymander the seats before 2026. Because the primaries primaries in like May or June.
They couldn't do it in like this November. It would have to be done in the midterms. And if that's on the ballot, it would almost certainly fail because no one's going to vote to gerrymander their state. I know Ohio did, but that was kind of a unique situation because it was
that's the thing.
Kind of like
California has already voted for an independent commission. Like you would basically be saying, I don't care what you voted for. We're going to keep pushing this referendum until you vote for it. It just doesn't work. That's not how. Like maybe California's become more partisan since then, But like I said, you would still have to get a supermajority of both chambers, and that same in the same chamber with a very similar constituency, just put that referendum for an independent commission to the to a ballot. Like it's not going to happen. Gavin Newsom, he's all Barack, no bite. He's not going to actually do anything. He's just posturing because he wants to run for president. But I think unlike someone like DeSantis, he doesn't have any sort of grip on his state party.
He doesn't have a grip on the state party. He doesn't have a grip on the nation. Everybody that thinks he's a good candidate is just kind of hoping that he's like the guy that'll win the primary, and then we somehow cram him into the national stage. Like it's a bunch of crap. It's a similar problem to Kamala Harris. People don't want to be California. Majority of the country doesn't want to be California. They may not vote. There's a lot of people that may not even want to vote for Trump, but they will not be California, and they will refuse to be governed by California on the federal stage.
And something to keep in mind as well, too, Newsom isn't even that strong of an electoral performer. Like, keep in mind, this guy faced a freaking recall vote. He won by less than 20 in 2022. He's part of the reason why Republicans even won the House in the first place, because of all the districts that we held in California. So,
right.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom isn't popular. I'm sorry. Go ahead. We'll cut it there.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom's not popular. He's going to suck. I'm going to blow through a couple of short stories real quick, and then we can get back to immigration. Stop me if you have any thoughts about any of the crap I'm about to say. I'm going to go through, I think, 4 stories here. To top off the tariffs, U.S. is set to impose almost 100% tariff on battery material from China. We're going to make our own batteries, boys and girls. Going to be mining lithium. I hope you're ready. It's going to be so much fun. Get that Energizer Bunny out. A couple other things. Tim Walz announced he is not running for president, but with a very serious look on his face. As you can see here, very serious look. He says, I'm making sure we get the party ready, and I want the field to be flooded with candidates, which, in other words, he doesn't have any freaking clue who's supposed to be the Democrat nominee. We had an interesting McLaughlin poll about who's leading the GOP. I guess it's not that interesting because it's saying the same thing we know. 31% of the field says that they will vote for J.D. Vance. 19% of the field says they will vote for Donald Trump Jr. Funnily enough, Donald Trump Jr. has endorsed J.D. Vance. So that's half the GOP that says, yeah, I'm voting for J.D. Vance. And then the next point, he's followed up by undecided, 21% of people who don't know who they're going to vote for, and then 8% of people who say they're going to vote for Ron DeSantis. By the way, quick math for you guys. If you add all of the undecided to Ron DeSantis, J.D. Vance still beats him. So, not really confused about the future of our party in that respect. We had a wonderful Texas bill I wanted to highlight because real Texan, he's out with family. He can't be here to talk about Texas. There is a Texas bill, SB 12, which, according to Wade Miller, is a fantastic bill pushing against school leftism being promoted in Texas schools. It has enforcement actions against schools, principals, districts that are pushing woke crap into children's faces. We'll probably have more info on SB 12 in the future. I'm sure Texan will want to rant about it in a future stream. Just giving you guys a heads up on that. Look up SB 12, guys. Okay, so those are my short stories.
I have one to add.
Oh yeah, what's your story?
We have an internal poll from Jared Golden. He is beating Paul LePage by 1 point.
Oh,
so that'll be interesting. They also put a poll out. Basically, the whole point of this poll was to say, "Don't primary me out," because basically Jared Golden they did a poll with him and they did a poll with his primary opponent, Matt W.
Also, speaking of Jared Golden, we have an interesting comment made by a friend of the channel, Mr. Boston.
Oh gosh, I'm not putting that on stream, man.
Yeah, we're not putting it on
I'm not
stream,
putting that on stream, man.
Let's just say he does not think that Jared Golden will be losing. Let's just
That
say
is
that.
insane behavior. But yeah, no. Jared Golden is basically Jared Golden put a poll out saying, if you primary me, you're going to lose by 10 points. But if you don't primary me, my internal poll says I will narrowly win. This might, I know we say this every cycle, but I think this might be the one where he's finally done, because I don't know how much longer he can ride the partisanship. It doesn't, it's just not going to work out for him forever.
Yeah.
It
Just
will
want
be
to
a
say,
blue wave, but Susan
Well-
Collins on the top of the ballot,
They-
maybe?
They could also try to bring up Golden's comments with regards to gun control, for example, and he's acting like less of a moderate in Congress now.
I was gonna say, I don't think he's voted like a moderate this cycle pretty much at all, unless it was
No.
something so moderate that even like safe blue Democrats are voting for it.
I don't
Yeah,
even
we've
think
got,
he
we've got
voted
some
to
other
condemn the.
news. We got some other news I want to comment on in a few
Sure.
minutes. In
Oh, yeah.
relation. Yeah.
I'll just say right now, blanket statement to all of chat and our wonderful listeners. We love all of your brave and bold opinions. Please do not physically mutilate yourself for your online takes. That's I just want to say that, guys, keep everything intact, okay? Just don't do anything to yourself. If you're wrong. We here at Real American pride ourselves in not mutilating ourselves over being wrong about things. Yeah, no, but anyways, I wanted to get to something that we've been rambling about on this program for a while. We had an article promoted by Charlie Kirk. Here, let me actually fix the screen so that you guys can see it properly, and then I'll post it in general for all the co-hosts. Making illegal employers pay. This is from a Commonplace. It was an article by Declan Leary. And just to sum it up for you guys, it's been talking about how few business owners have actually been gone after, how they haven't really been prosecuted, not in the first Trump admin, not really at all. And so it was just talking about how not only is this something that the Trump admin can jump on right now, actually prosecuting business owners that employ illegals, it would be a really easy win, and it puts the Dems in a terrible place. Just like how raiding weed farms and finding children working there puts Dems in kind of an icky situation. It's the same thing with this. When you do this, you are getting Dems into a place where they defend the indefensible, and you're forcing the Dems to pit themselves against the workers that actually want these jobs and that want higher wages for these jobs. It's an easy win with the constituency that is the heart of the MAGA base. So I wanted to bring that up. Really wonderful Commonplace article. Charlie Kirk's point is that the admin really needs to get on this. It's an easy win. And in slightly related news, federal agents said they raided the homes and businesses of providers accused of defrauding Minnesota's housing stabilization service. And I say this is related because it's all about enablers, right? We have attorneys enabling illegal immigration. We have people part of the welfare queen state enabling illegal immigration. We have business owners. And all these people together need to be held accountable. We've raided a couple of law offices that are trying to help illegals with court cases. We're now raiding the businesses of providers helping Somalis in Minnesota game the housing system there. We've talked about that a little bit on the show before, but the Somalis, to put it short, this single collective ethnic group that moved into Minnesota has been gaming the system by pretending to have illnesses they don't actually have, and they're using it to get services that are meant for tax-paying American citizens.
God, Somalis have really screwed up Minneapolis, man.
Right. Charlie Howard for 20. Speaking of immigration, I work in a hospital system in North Carolina and saw an email from my system about rumors that ICE was deporting people straight from our locations, lol. They also said, don't help, but don't interfere. the neutral stance, huh? Don't help law enforcement, but definitely don't interfere with law enforcement. I'm assuming that's to try and stay out of any lawsuits or whatever. That is interesting at the very least. I've heard people resisting ICE and I've heard people helping ICE, but the neutral position, I guess that's a lot of businesses that I'm not aware of. But yeah, no, very fascinating. Thank you for sharing, Charlie. Thanks for the super chat, my man. But yeah, any thoughts on jailing the enablers of illegal immigration, guys, or the Minnesota housing scandal?
I will say this. I'm obviously a huge fan of mass deportations. Obviously, a huge fan of arresting everyone who's at these places. But yes, you do have to go after both the employers and the employees. What we keep doing is we finger wag and we go, no, don't hire those illegals again, and then we just let them keep doing it. Obviously, Republicans are a little bit less likely to go after businesses just because they're still the business party, although I think that should kind of dissipate considering how much they fund our opponents. But yeah, no, you do have to go after both of them because if you keep going after, you can't keep going after the employees and not actually target the source of their employment. If businesses refuse to employ illegal aliens, you would solve this problem. So there needs to be strict consequences. There needs to be harsh policing against these people. Both the people that are helping them, the people that are helping them get housing, the people that are helping them get immigration, like lawyer services. You basically do have to do everything in your power to stop both the source and the people that are going to them.
So true, and that's such an important point that people don't hammer on enough. Is that these people are going to fund the opposition campaigns. These people that you enable to continue hiring illegals, they're just going to fund the campaigns that are destroying you because they know eventually the jig will be up with their black market labor market. They know it's not going to last forever and that they're going to have to eventually be held accountable. So they're going to fund opposition campaigns, whether you like it or not, whether you enable them or not. So just start putting these people in prison, man. Just start actually enforcing the law. And it's on the books. We don't have to make new laws. We just have to enforce the existing law and also probably add in more restrictions on illegals working,
There needs to be like actual,
as the Democrats said several months ago, no one is above the law.
So true.
That's the thing, because I feel like if I remember correctly, there really aren't many criminal consequences for hiring illegals. There are civil consequences, there are fines, there are business shutdowns. But I really don't think there's that much you can do against people criminally. Like, you can't go, oh, you hired illegal aliens, you're going to jail. Which that really should be a thing. And I'm not saying, like, jail anyone who is, like, duped into hiring an illegal alien. But, like, if you don't do your proper research and you don't even, like, actually fill out the proper forms, you need to go to jail. I'm sorry. Like, you are responsible for the destruction of American workers, their wages, and the culture of this country, and you need to be held accountable for it.
Amen. Amen, brother. I have a couple more short stories I'm going to go through, and I'm going to land on something happening overseas. Let me see here real quick. We had DHS responding to more allegations. I honestly just follow Homeland Security at this point, guys. They put out a lot of really good content. But as you guys can see here, the Washington Post put out an article saying, here illegally since 1999, thousands of immigrants have 60 days to leave, talking about temporary status being revoked from these people. Homeland Security. Again, the T in TPS stands for temporary. It was never meant to last a quarter of a century. For many of these countries, temporary protective status was granted in the 90s after natural disasters. Now that conditions have improved, it's time to return home. So our own government pushing back against this ridiculous narrative. News out of Treasury. Scott Bessent says, in line with Trump's policy of completely eliminating cartels, the Treasury Department has sanctioned 6 leaders and key affiliates of the terrorist cartel Tren de Aragua. And the Treasury Department doing this means that their assets are probably frozen. They can't make transactions. They probably can't wire money. So they're financially cut off from operating in the U.S. The Trump administration will not allow Tren de Aragua to continue to terrorize our communities and harm innocent Americans. More needs to be done, but I'm really glad to see that we're moving forward on that. And then on a little bit sadder news, I felt like I had to bring this up, especially because it involves one of Rap's favorite, one of the potential popes we were looking at, Cardinal Pizzaballa over in the Middle East has said 3 people have now died after Israel's attack on the Holy Family Catholic Church. 9 are wounded. Pizzaballa said this horrific war must come to a complete end. This sentiment by Pizzaballa was echoed by Pope Leo, who sent his sympathies to Pizzaballa's ministry and called for a complete peace in the Middle East. I guess we could talk a little bit about Israel getting really schizophrenic and neurotic with Syria, but it's more of the same, you guys. They're just bombing another country because there were videos made that were inciting the Israeli people into thinking, oh, you know, our people are being massacred. They had a bunch of people border hop into Lebanon, I believe, and cause a bunch of mayhem across the border because they saw videos of people's mustaches being shaved and Israelis being harmed. I don't know if the videos were real or fake, but it's just been a mess. And it feels like they're trying to restart mess over there. But I just definitely wanted to bring up Pizzaballa's been having a rough time. You should pray for his ministry, pray for the people wounded and reposed in this area. We definitely don't like it when churches are attacked by anyone. Yeah, no.
Including by our greatest ally.
By our greatest ally, guys. Our greatest ally.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that was most of the small stuff. I have a recap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Later, before we end, I do want to. There was some big news out of the Wisconsin governor race I wanted to get to.
Let's do it.
Because that's the race. Yeah,
let's do it,
I can
man.
do that real quick. Tony Evers, the incumbent Democratic governor of Wisconsin, will most likely not be seeking re-election. There was a report that came out yesterday that likely within the next couple days he will not be running, which means there will be a competitive Democratic primary in that state, and Republicans now have a much more easy shot at flipping the governorship. I will say it also looks like Tom Tiffany, following that news, will probably be jumping in. He's been posting some interesting tweets showing that he's still interested, which means if he runs, he'll probably run away with the Republican primary. There's a couple, the guy I'm currently supporting, Josh Showman, he doesn't really have the name ID, and I'm mostly just supporting him to stop the other guy, Bill Berrien, who's this Haley supporting businessman. But I think that once Tiffany jumps in, I think he'll secure it. So we'll have to wait and see. That's definitely a race to keep an eye on in 2026. But until we get further news, we can't really comment on it much further.
All I wanted to say, Luke, is like while I was looking up a post to pull up, I did end up pulling up a post talking about Tony Evers declining to seek a third term. But like before I found it, it was like a bunch of posts from different people being like, it's day 100, blah, blah, blah. And Tony Evers is still the worst Wisconsin governor in U.S. history, blah, blah, blah.
I know
governor.
that guy is an interesting fellow. Yeah, that guy tweets the same thing out every single day. Yeah.
And then I saw a post from back in February where Tony Evers was proposing a law to replace the word mother with inseminated person in a state statute.
People remember the governor who did that. That was Tony Evers. It was my governor. So people might remember that story of the Democratic governor who made the inseminated persons comment. Yeah, that was Evers in Wisconsin. So yeah, he will not be the governor of Wisconsin following 2026. So we'll see. Will he get an upgrade or a downgrade? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, we're all praying for the best. And I just, yeah, no, that Dan Miller guy really makes some interesting edits of Tony Evers.
He's an interesting individual. I think he's a Dane County GOP member. Yeah, members of the Dane County GOP are interesting individuals. Let's just say that's a story for another day, though.
Yeah, story for another day. All right, guys. Yeah, come in clutch for Wisconsin, guys. I did have, on top of all of this, a couple stories about the nonsense and chaos coming out of the Senate Judiciary Committee. They were trying to get a Trump judicial nominee, Emil Bove, kind of through the courts, and they weren't messing around. They weren't going to let the Democrats grandstand. Context, by the way, if you guys haven't been paying attention to everything else that's been happening, Democrats have been milking every single little thing. Cory Booker grandstanding, Hakeem Jeffries grandstanding, using their magic minutes, wasting all of our time saying garbage, saying essentially nothing. The only thing I remember about Hakeem Jeffries speaking in the House was basically he talked about like how his kids were cool. That's all I remember. He was like, "Oh yeah, my kids are really cool. They did cool stuff." And I was like, what does this have to do with the bill? What does any of this have anything to do with the bill? It has nothing. They're just yapping and yapping and yapping and wasting everyone's time. Well, Chuck Grassley wasn't having any of it. And so as you guys can see on screen, the Democrats walk out as Cory Booker is yelling at Chuck Grassley about this because the Republicans weren't having any of it.
Man, you know, Chuck Grassley is the only person who genuinely cares about his constituents, even to the point where when he notices the History Channel is not uploading real history, he goes to his Twitter to complain about it. When someone's pet pigeon went missing and found its way onto his farm, he showed its identifiers and showed, if you lost your pigeon, it's right here. It's dead. I'm sorry. He cares truly about his constituents, you know?
Yeah,
And
we love Chuck Grassley.
we love Chuck Grassley. For people who don't know, he still runs his Twitter account. He doesn't have like a team do it. So just take a look, gander at his Twitter account sometimes, the way he talks on it. Acts like if you gave a boomer a cell phone, basically, but he's even older than a boomer.
He's not
So
a boomer. He's like following generation. We're like greatest generation.
Yeah, but he was there to vote against Martin Luther King Day. Let's just say that. So
Did he vote against it?
yeah, he did.
Patriot.
Right.
But yeah, you should. Yeah, he's been in the Senate. He's been in that Senate seat since Reagan was president. So
Oh, jeez, man.
he was in Congress before him.
So yeah, after all of it happened, Senator Cory Booker made a video while he was walking. He made a Luke style video. We're gonna call it Luke style videos from now on. He was furious after Republicans rammed through a Trump judicial nominee. Say he bravely stayed as the lone soldier while the other Democrats went and probably ate lunch. Quote, "They cut off all debate, rammed through a vote on, but when people walked out, as I sat there continuing to appeal to the conscience of my fellow senators who now are showing their willingness to bow to Donald Trump's will to be able to undermine this institution in order to do his bidding. This is a shame for the committee. What we just witnessed today was an utter sham in forcing through one of the most controversial nominees ever to the American Circuit Court." Yeah. So all huff, all puff. Did they break the building? No, but man, Cory Booker sure does know how to yap. He's a freaking yapper, guys. I don't know how else to put it.
He's certainly an interesting fellow.
Man, just get Timo Obama off the phone already. Somebody primary that at this point you can put some nutter in place of him. I just want him to stop yapping, man. Okay. So there was one last thing I had set up here before we end the stream. If you guys have any last call super chats, now's the time to do it. But I wanted to show you guys something in a kind of non-confrontational way. I'm trying to be nice. Did you guys notice? I'm trying to be super nice. I'm trying to be kind this stream. Kind to all of you. Kind to my guests and to the chat and to everyone. Peace and love, brother. But I wanted to bring up one more thing that kind of nails home something that's close to my heart, close to the hearts of some of the people that we're talking with. And that is looking over the promises Trump actually made to people. People were bringing up, particularly stuff on his Rumble page. And I just want to show you, this is not the very end of his Rumble page, but you can look through it too. I'm just going to show you starting at the videos on Trump's Rumble page that talk about Agenda 47, everything, single thing that includes his campaign promises. You can find them on Rumble, but you can find them on his own platform website, which is still up, and see every single promise Donald Trump made from the start of his campaign in 2023. So we go through, you see, talks about making America energy independent, plan to end crime, restore law and order, stop the America last warmongers and globalists, America First trade platform that takes a sledgehammer to globalism, reversing Biden's executive orders, preventing World War III. Joe Biden has been a disaster for the economy. And we could keep going through. It's not going to take me too long. I'm just showing you guys all of these things. You can read every single thumbnail, every single headline. Agenda 47, ending Biden's war on the suburbs. By the way, it's like there's a bunch of yimbies that are pro-Trump now that don't realize that Trump explicitly is warning against what they want, which is interesting to me. President Trump's plan to dismantle the deep state and return power to the American people. We've been seeing that with the Civil Rights Department of the DOJ working really hard to protect our Second Amendment rights and to protect us, the majority of the country, from discrimination. Firing radical Marxist prosecutors, destroying America, actually just happened with Comey. Liberating America from Biden's regulatory onslaught. Ending the nightmare of homeless, drug addicts, and dangerously deranged. Protecting students from the radical left. Executive orders ending citizenship for children of illegals, of anchor babies. Outlawing birth tourism. Celebrating 250 years of American independence. Ending the scourge of drug addiction. Anyways, you get the point. I am nailing down the point really hard. You look through this, or you look through the written promises on Trump's platform. There's 20 here. We can go through them one by one. Seal the border. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. End inflation. Make America energy dominant. Stop outsourcing. Large tax cuts for workers. Defend our Constitution. Prevent World War III. End weaponization of government. Stop me if you hear something that isn't being worked on, because there's only one thing on this list I can identify that isn't either accomplished or being worked on. Stop the migrant crime epidemic. Rebuild our cities. That needs to be worked on still. But they're currently looking at trying to take complete control over DC, so they might be renovating DC. And they are helping cities. Like, you can literally go on the LA highway right now and get to places that normally would take you 3-4 hours to get to in less than an hour now. So he's helping LA for sure. Strengthen and modernize our military. Keep the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Protect Social Security and Medicare. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate. Cut federal funding for schools pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate content. Keep men out of women's sports. Deport pro-Hamas radicals. This is the one. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. This is a really important one that still hasn't been worked on, but it's the hardest one too, legislatively, to get through. So I understand why it hasn't been fulfilled yet, but I really need them to finish that one. Promise 20. Unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. No matter what you're looking at on this list, the 20 written promises. You look at the Rumble videos for Agenda 47. You go on his website, everywhere. You see promise after promise after promise after promise after promise that politicians typically do not fulfill, being fulfilled by Donald J. Trump. And without, stepping on toes and stepping on eggshells and, going after anybody, I just want to point out everything good that has happened over the past half year, the kind of crazy crap that has not happened in my entire lifetime in any presidential administration, including Trump's first term, that has happened in the first 6 months of this admin. I am not going to be forced to forget that because Gavin Newsom and Kevin Spacey and whoever else and Zoran Mamdani want to whine about something Trump's doing. It's not going to erase it from my head, no matter what you do. I am not going to forget the past half year over it. And so I'm just pointing out these are the things Trump promised on paper, written in video format. And we can continue having conversations. I feel like we're going to have more news tomorrow to cover regarding Epstein. So you guys probably will get to hear us talk a little bit more about that, but I'll save that for tomorrow. Let's see, do you think, Boyd was asking, do you think Paxton will win? It's actually really interesting. It looks like he's fundraising just as much as he has been. It's been like millions of dollars. Looks like he's firing off on all cylinders. He's going to keep going. And like I told you guys, I'm not the biggest fan of Paxton anymore, but it doesn't matter. I'm not a Texan citizen, and I really want you guys to get rid of Cornyn. So get rid of Cornyn however you got to, you know. That's my spiel on it. If you guys have any opinions on Paxton or any of this stuff, you can go for it. I'm about to close the stream, guys.
I don't know. I think Wesley Hunt should run. I don't think Paxton would lose the general, but he'd definitely make it. So we'd have to funnel a lot of money there that could be spent. Because here's the thing: you might think, oh, people don't really care about those scandals anymore. Typically, that's the case. But in the Bible Belt, which Texas is a part of, that part of the country, that's going to have a large impact with the base, and that's going to cause a lot of people not to want to vote for him. And it might even encourage some more independent Christian type people to not vote. Which that's why I think it's best get someone else to run. We all want to get rid of Cornyn. Wesley Hunt is right there. It seems like he wants to run. That's why I think your best case scenario is, because then
just get Wesley
he can
Hunt
just
or
win.
something like that.
He can just win easily, and you don't have to divert money because all the money you divert to Paxton, that's money that could be going to Mike Rogers, to John King, to Laura Trump, or whoever's the nominee in North Carolina. That's all of that money could be going to these other candidates in swing seats, but might have to go to bail out Paxton, which is not a situation we want to be in.
Well, Luke, that is a very kind of broader, comprehensive understanding of the situation. And we all have to remember, we were really pissed off for the exact things Luke is talking about back in November. Do you guys remember when we were sitting there analyzing how the GOP, the establishment class, was handling money donations to Senate races? And we were looking at like Larry Hogan getting all that money in Maryland. We were all pissed off, right? We were pissed off because money was being used inappropriately. So Luke is, as much as like, I just want Texans to figure it out. That is like, I couldn't agree more with bringing up, allocation of resources and how important of a priority that is. We got one more super chat from Charlie for 2. I think North Carolina's open seat will be the closest 50-50. I do agree it'll be close. We might talk about that more tomorrow or some other time, but yeah, no, I have like a few reasons that I think that we're going to secure North Carolina depending on what happens, but nothing's set in stone because we don't even know who our candidate's going to be yet. So, still a little bit early to call things on North Carolina since we don't really even know yet. But yeah, no, absolutely. Really get Cornyn out of there no matter what. But, also think about our resources. How can we use our resources most wisely? That is an incredibly salient point. But yeah, I think this is good. I think we'll stop it there. And thank everybody for joining me on the stream. Thank you, chat, for interacting. We love you guys. And remember, we're all one big happy family. We're all one big happy family. We could disagree on stuff. That we can also agree on things. But the real point is that the core of MAGA is held together and strong by the values that we push for. MAGA working class, non-interventionism, deporting and valuing U.S. citizens over foreigners. These are so important that they hold us all together. So we really just want to thank everybody for tuning in. God bless to each and every one of you, and Godspeed to all of you.